What if the way you've been telling your life story reveals the secret to what is holding you back? Stories play an integral part in how we see not only ourselves, but the whole world. Stories are more than just an important part of communication. They also reveal hidden aspects of our inner talk, which can either support us or end up holding us back from the very things we want most in life, without us even realizing it. Join author, mindset coach, and award-winning singer-songwriter Carrie Rowan on her show, Look for the Good, every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. when she shares nuggets of wisdom from her internationally best-selling book, Tell a New Story, 5 Simple Steps to Release Your Negative Stories and Bring Joy to Your Life. Carrie's powerful stories and compelling guests will empower you to change how you look at your own life while giving you some powerful tools and tips you can use every day to help you feel better and move yourself closer to the life you've been longing to live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Look for the Good, the show that helps you transform your mindset by rewriting the stories you tell yourself. I'm your host, Carrie Rowan, mindset strategist and inspirational speaker. And I love sharing stories about our triumph and our strength, right? And I believe that it's the stories we carry that shape the lives that we live. And you can tune in each week on Dream Vision 7 Radio as I sit down with inspiring guests to share real, raw, and uplifting stories of resilience, healing, and personal growth. We dive into the power of perspective and give you tools to shift your inner dialogue so you can live with more joy, right? That is what we're here for, everyone. You can tune in every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time to get real stories on tips on how to turn your story and your life around. And listen online on your mobile device or in your car. You can also ask Alexa to play Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. And isn't it time to finally rewrite your narrative? Let's learn to look for the good here together. And welcome, everybody. I want to say hello to Jennifer, our special guest, waiting in the wings.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here. And you love talking about stories. I love talking about stories. And sometimes one of the things I find is that the stories that we tell are not always the best ones, right? Like we love to
Mhm.
tell those high energy triumph stories, but we save those quiet little, those kind of mean stories for ourselves in our own brains. And what I found throughout the years is that we don't even realize we're doing that, right? So we talk about these stories. And what I really mean are those stories, the quiet little stories that got planted in there by somebody, maybe well intended. And that story just sticks right at a young time in our brain when we were just formulating our lives before 7 years old. And that story becomes sticky and it's in there. And there's a new study out that shows that most people think that they're self aware, but less than 6% of them are.
It's
Isn't
so
that
true.
isn't that
It's
crazy?
yeah, it's so crazy.
So that is in steps our work right there at that moment,
Mm,
because it's hard sometimes to know that we have this belief, which is
mm.
AKA story, hidden behind there because the mind likes to tell stories. It likes to make sense of things through stories. So we're so going to dive into all this, and your work and my work just so harmonizes with each other. I love
So
what you
true.
are doing out into the world. So
Thank you.
thank you for all you do.
Thank you for having me.
Do you mind if I share your bio?
No, please
It's
go for it.
awesome. I'm gonna read your bio. It's always a little weird when somebody else reads your bio, but
You know?
it's it's cool. So, Jenn Gulbrand is an author, speaker, and healing guide who helps people calm their nervous systems, release what no longer serves them, and reconnect with who they truly are. Through storytelling, somatic healing, breath work, and sound, she creates powerful spaces for transformation and renewal. Thank you. That is so beautiful, the work that you're doing and putting out into the planet.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we need it now more than ever, don't you think?
We so need this
Yeah.
more than ever. But
Yeah.
again, it's tuning into it, it's learning how to
Mhm.
listen to ourselves, right? And that's what you do. You
Absolutely.
awaken people to really what we already know, but we just get so programmed, right? And like the noise of this externally facing world is so loud.
It's so loud. It's deafening at times. Yeah.
It is so
And it's really
deafening.
and it's so excuse me, it's so messing with everyone's nervous system regulation more than ever.
I was
Yeah.
thinking the same thing because we
Yeah.
can't catch up to this speed, right? This speed that we
Right.
run at. We're not meant
So
for
true.
that.
No, we're not.
Talk a little bit about the nervous system because I think people are like, "Oh, nervous system. Like, do I have one of those? Like, what do I do about that?" Like, talk a
Yeah.
little bit. Let's normalize it a little bit for people so they really know what we're talking about.
Okay, so I guess the first thing I would want to explain to people is that we have these beautiful brains, right? Our brains help us to make decisions, to think strategically, to move forward about our lives. But we're leading very most of us are leading with our brains and are this busy monkey mind, right? That we have with all these ideas running around. And you know what we lose track of and what we are not taught early enough is to listen to our bodies. And so our bodies actually hold the key to everything, right? I'm sure you've heard of the book Our Body Keeps the Score, and it clarifies everything for us. No matter what we experience in our life, our bodies are holding the majority of that experience within us, our energetic bodies and our physical bodies. But we think and we're programmed to drive with our minds and our brains, and those often are disconnected. So we become disembodied. We live from the neck up, and we leave all of this history and knowledge and experience suppressed in our bodies. And that causes imbalance, it causes dis-ease.
Mhm.
Um, so I want to start with that and then also explain that we all have this brilliant central nervous system, right? That is designed to protect us from harm or perceived danger. And
Mm.
so it knows when something is coming at us, or it's perceived that something's coming at us, and it chooses how to best protect you, right? So you've all heard about fight or flight or freeze. These are different modes that our bodies will resort to when it feels in danger because it wants to protect you from that danger. And the challenge that we face is that when we're not aware of that and we're in one of those, you know, modes that are not rest and digest and safe, our body doesn't feel safe, and we move into one of these modes, it becomes very difficult to um, to make the right choices, to
Yeah.
know what to do. And so we can spiral in that for years and years and years. And you mentioned the what between 0 and 7 we form all these belief systems about ourselves, right? The shame and the stories and the narratives that are just not even real, but they our brain holds on to them. And then when we have a negative experience, a painful life experience or a trauma, our body is going to choose which of these modes am I going to fall into right now to protect you from what's this danger that's coming. And then what happens is we suppress it because it's too overwhelming and we push it all down, and it stays stuck, like you said, in our system and or on replay, and things trigger it. New experiences trigger it. I like to call it unfinished business. It's
Mm.
so because when we have a trauma, it's so much that instead of allowing ourselves, our bodies to experience it from start to finish, it gets stuck in this like mode of replay because it's just too much. And so what we want to do is start to understand that, and first of all be grateful to our bodies and to our central nervous system, but begin to understand that and reconnect our brain with our body so that we can be fully embodied and we can heal. And how do we heal? We have to actually feel that stuff that we've been
Yeah.
suppressing.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
love that.
really I'm fascinated by the science, and I always talk about how I blend science with soul. So like my spiritual training, my energy training, combined with this understanding of our incredible, brilliant bodies and minds, and how we can help them, regulate by working together versus competing.
I love there's so much in there, and that's so
Right?
true, and I think, um, if you look at the animals, okay? So we've got this brain, right? And it's so
Right.
beautiful and it's designed to keep us safe, but it's trying too hard. It's always making us stay small and pull ourselves
Mm,
in or get into fight or flight when really there is no tiger in the backyard. But when
right.
we look at at animals versus humans, we are not supposed to stay in chronic stress. If you watch something outside, say there's a deer in my yard and my dog comes barking, the deer goes and runs off for a minute. He's scared, right? But 5 minutes later, he's just
He's right.
nibbling on his little treats. He forgot
Yeah.
all about Willie, my dog in the yard that just scared him, right? But that's
Right.
how we're designed. But we don't do it that way because we
We
have
don't.
this beautiful brain that is like, then it keeps us on super hyper alert. Anytime we sense or smell something that looks or feels like the other thing that happened to us 29
Right.
years ago, our body goes, oop, remember that time? Oop,
Yeah.
right? Remember that time? We no, we can't do that. And it stops us from doing the very things we actually want to do in life.
Yeah.
That's where it's
It's
tragic and sad.
it's so tragic and sad. And that's why helping people to understand this so that you can become more empowered around it and move through that, right? Hold the capacity for that experience and allow it to complete itself so that your body knows it's not still happening. That happened to me. It was terrible, 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 but it's not happening every single time I'm triggered. And that's what EMDR work is all about. And the trauma work that we do is to help our bodies understand it's not happening anymore.
Right. We're safe.
You're safe. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're
And
safe.
you mentioned, I just have this thought because you mentioned these stories, right? That we carry around and we don't talk about the real, raw, unfiltered, non-Instagram versions of our lives
Right.
because we're programmed to hide the messy parts, to not share our dirty laundry, to right like, oh, we
Totally.
don't we don't we don't talk about
Especially as
that stuff.
women, we don't, oh,
Yeah.
no,
Oh,
no, be nice. Don't say
exactly.
something if you don't have anything nice to say. Don't say anything at all. Right. All those things have
Yeah,
been programmed into us. So we're not going to be sharing
absolutely.
those stories, those
Exactly.
mean little stories that we say inside of our head. Yeah. That's a really
Mm,
great point. And
yeah.
so I love the word capacity that you said. You
Yeah.
said capacity. And that is such a huge word because that says to me, we have the capacity and we can build the capacity.
Mm,
We just, like you said, we were never taught how to calm ourselves and soothe ourselves way back from when we were babies, in the
right.
crib. And maybe you had the cry it out method. You didn't get it, you got to have that chance to learn. And now as an adult, I love that we have the choice. I can
Absolutely.
choose to keep living like this and feeling like this. Or I can actually, sometimes people don't realize they have a choice. You can
Mm,
start to think different thoughts, right? You can start to tell a new story.
yeah.
You can get healing with Jennifer and all these amazing things that you're doing. So I love that. And what is the first thing that you think? I love the building the capacity. How do you teach somebody to build that capacity and feel what they're feeling and let it be okay?
Teach them how. The very first thing I do usually is teaching people how to breathe all over again, because and this is about getting dropping from your head into your body and into your heart. We have this incredible tool within us, this breath, right? That we don't even know how to use, most of us. And when we get anxious or when we feel triggered, what happens? We're breathing from our chest, right? We're breathing up here instead of deep abdominal belly breathing. This as a performer, right? Like,
Yeah.
we when we're anxious, we're up here. And so the almost the very first thing I do is and people laugh at me. They're like, oh yeah, I know how to breathe. And then we talk about it and they're like, oh, I guess I don't. So I use that tool of breath work and mindfully dropping from what's in your brain into your body, into your heart, to connect by simply measuring your inhale, experiencing the expansion of your belly and then your chest and your heart and your lungs, and then exhaling it out and feeling what that feels like. It's bringing them into their bodies,
Mm,
embodiment, excuse me. And and
yeah.
and that is always step one, because of what I mentioned before. We're all living from up here, and we're disconnected, we're disembodied. So
Mm,
in order to feel whole, we have to kind of reintegrate and be like, wow, this body has been through a lot of stuff. And
yeah.
I'm going to learn to listen to it and love it and hold the capacity for its
Mm,
it's grief, it's pain, it's experience, right?
Yeah.
And then we
Yeah.
move through that, we learn how to move through that in a way with self-love and
Mm.
self-compassion. Again, things we're not taught from a
We
young
are
age
not taught. We are
to
so not taught
practice.
that. Yeah. And
Mm.
it made me think when you were talking, it's something I call PMA, not to be confused with PMS. And
Yeah.
it is it's
Or
present moment
PDA.
awareness. Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Is present moment
Yeah.
awareness. And that's
Yes.
what you're talking about, right? You're
Yes.
talking about coming back into your body because
Mhm.
when we're thinking about our body and our breathing and what do I hear around me and what do I smell and taste, right? And bringing all our senses,
Yeah.
which is really all mindfulness is. People just like get
It's
intimidated by
be
mindfulness.
here now.
Be here
Period.
now, right? Because there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong right now in this moment, right?
Right.
And
Right.
because we spend, if we're up here, we're thinking about either the past or the future, which is where our
Right.
anxiety and our depression come from. So,
Oh, so much so.
right, when we can learn to bring it in that present moment awareness,
Mm.
that's where the peace is.
It's so true. And do you know that we have like 80,000 thoughts a day, right?
Yeah.
Like as
Yeah.
humans, 80,000 thoughts a day. And many of them are on repeat, that replay, right? That
The
we're
majority of them.
ruminating, right? We're ruminating. Like you said,
Yes.
what happened yesterday? What's going to happen tomorrow? Things we cannot control.
Yeah.
And so much time is spent worrying and stressing out when we only really have control, as you said, in this moment, here and now. And so when we can teach people to come back to that peace, that stillness, that presence, that's where everything shifts,
Yeah.
right?
I love that.
And it's really, I know that you know this because you do this work. It's so beautiful when you see that click in for somebody,
Mm,
when you see them experience that space, that stillness, and everything just sort of quiets.
mm.
And when they experience that for the first time, it's like they begin to understand and crave more of that. And
Oh,
that's what this work is all about.
I love it. This is a great moment. We're going to take a quick little break, everybody, but don't go anywhere. I know you are hanging on, Jen's every word. We'll be right back. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Look for the Good. And hey, friends, do you feel like you're on edge all the time? No matter how hard you try to relax, the stress just won't let go. Today's special guest, Jenn Gulbrand, helps people break free from old patterns and calm their nervous systems, combining science backed methods with soulful healing and guides you into peace, presence, and personal power. Are you ready to feel lighter, clearer, and more alive? Book your free discovery call with Jenn today. That's at Jenn Gulbrand, JennGulbrand.com. Go there today and book it. You can thank me later. Welcome back, everybody, to Look for the Good. We have Jenn here, and we're having this incredible conversation. I love where you were going, talking about how once people get that feel of the expansion and the space that's created by being here in that moment and using that breath work, they want more. That's so powerful. So let's talk a little bit about that and how, learning to really uncover this and getting in the present moment allows us to talk about those stories, those quiet little stories that we mentioned at the top of the hour. Let's dive into that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's so funny because when people come to us, right, as either coaches or healers or, for trauma therapy, whatever it is, there's always an entry point, right? Like they'll come and they'll be like, something just isn't feeling right. I feel stuck in my life, or my body doesn't feel good, or whatever the reason. That entry point is always where we begin, and we get to know somebody. And then, I mean, for me, I end up kind of customizing and integrating the work that I'm going to be designing for somebody, because let's face it, like we are super multidimensional beings, right? We can't just, you know, he- work on the spiritual or the emotional or the physical. You really want to be looking at all of those areas of our lives, and where do we feel like things are working, and where do we feel like they need some support, and then design um, modalities or an integration of that science and that soul for that particular person. So I'm always looking at that almost like a science experiment. Like, what does this person need? They
Mm.
may not even know what they need, but by spending time with them and understanding, just listening to their words and watching their body language, you tend to have a sense of where to start, right?
Yes.
And I think just creating, this is really important to me, is creating a safe, sacred space where they feel like they can be honest and without judgment, without, that fear of not belonging, to really feel like I'm allowing them and creating a container for them to be seen and heard and understood, right? That's our basic human need, is to be seen and heard and understood.
Yeah.
So if I can create a container where somebody feels safe enough to open up to me, that's where we always want to begin, right? Because
Yeah.
otherwise we're still hiding. I think it was Henry David Thoreau who said we're constantly being invited to, you know, to be who we are, to show up as ourselves. But how many of us really do that? How many of us really feel safe enough to be 100% authentic in our relationships and our interactions with people? I think that takes a lot of practice and work because of how we've been programmed.
Yeah.
So I think it really begins with creating that environment where somebody truly does feel safe enough to open up, to share the
Yeah.
messy parts,
Share
right?
the mess. I love that. Share the
Yeah.
stories that they
Mm,
would never dare tell anybody, because there's so much juice and magic in those stories.
mm,
We think they're awful, and that's why we don't share them, and we have shame and all
right.
those low vibe emotions that we talked about, right?
Right.
And we were embarrassed that we had this story and where it came from, and maybe even the story about where it came from. But it's in that story, right? It's in revealing it, because I love how Brené Brown talks about the shame and shame stories, because
Yeah.
shame can't live without secrecy and quiet.
Exactly. It thrives in silence. Thrives in
Yes.
silence. But you know what
Yes.
it can't survive? It can't survive empathy. And
Ooh.
and that is a big thing I talk about, is when we create opportunities to share experiences, and we, with compassion and empathy, and we start to understand we're not alone. We're not the only person who's suffered in this way. Then we cultivate this community, this sense of connection
Mhm.
in a really deeper level that I think, again, we need so much now, more than ever before.
We really
Enough with the divisiveness, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do we come together and raise the collective consciousness? Well, we do that by, a deeper human connection, right?
Yeah, a
Yeah.
deeper sharing. Hey,
Mm,
I'm like you. We're more alike than we're different. That's the irony, right?
so
We're
much.
humans. We're so much more
Yeah.
alike. And I love normalizing this stuff, because we are. Just because we
Yeah.
keep it secret doesn't mean I don't have one and you don't have one and everybody else doesn't have one, right? And it's
Right.
putting it out on the table, right? It's like you said, but you have to have the safe container. You have to feel in a safe place where it's safe enough to share, like
Mm,
we do with, helping our clients. And but once you do, oh, let's
right.
talk about the magic.
It's so liberating. You just feel this sense of freedom, and you realize, I mean, I know just my own story of sort of becoming, writing my book and sharing things that, like, people in my life did not know had occurred. I
Yeah.
thought I was doing it initially for my own healing, which of course I was, but what I didn't expect, and what was so magical, I mean, the alchemy of this was how it how it resonated with other people, how it gave them permission, right, to do the
Yes.
same,
Yes.
to have the courage to share their stories, to be more real, to feel safe enough, to feel that empathy coming back, right? I mean, our brains are hardwired to interact with each other in this way. There's science around this.
Yes.
And not only do we, like you said, the bonding hormones in our brain, everything gets triggered when we feel a connection, like you and I are having right now, this conversation. Like, it's really good for our bodies, and the person hearing it, it's good for them too, because now it's like this mirror effect where they're like, wow, if she can do that, so can I. And I can
Yes.
feel that sense of release
Yeah.
and freedom
Oh,
and transformation, and it's all going to be okay.
it's all
Yeah.
going to be okay. And it's
Yeah.
permission, right?
Mm,
I give you permission when I share my story, like in my book too, right?
yeah.
We give them permission.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Here's my yucky, ugly story that I never wanted to
Yeah.
share, but I'm sharing it right here in a book, right? Like you did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yep, you might even piss some people off with your story, right?
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
okay because it's the truth, and the truth
Yes.
needs to get out. And that story, by sharing
Mm.
that, you realize, and we're normalizing these stories because we all have them. Oh,
Yeah.
and it's not your fault.
Thank you. Yes. When we face that, I like to call it the shadow side of your
Mm-hmm.
life or your stories,
Mm-hmm.
you uncover this deeper truth that healing is not about bypassing pain. It's not about stuffing it down and not feeling it and hiding it from the world, right? Again, it's about learning to hold that capacity for it, to move through it with self-love and compassion and understanding all the things that you give to everyone else. How about turning that around and giving those things to yourself?
Oh yeah.
That's like big. It's and that's what this is all about. And that's
Yeah.
really what led me, my own experience on that journey is what led me to want to do this work. Like everything I do, whether it's writing or speaking or running a retreat or working with a client one on one, it's all rooted in helping people to regulate that nervous system, to release those wounds, that shame, those limiting beliefs, and reclaim their own power, to feel that sovereignty. Right? It's like the medicine that you need to give to yourself
It's
to feel
so
whole. Yeah.
beautiful. I love the way you describe that, to
Mm.
feel whole, right? Because
Yeah.
really, feelings weren't meant to get shoved down, because then they come up sideways and weird and they get stuck in our bodies.
Yeah.
You're meant to, because if you only give that 90 seconds to feel it, it's meant to pass through, much like a wave, much like a breeze
Yeah.
passing through. That's what they're meant to do.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
people, I think, are afraid of them. So you create this beautiful, safe place for them
Mm.
to acknowledge these feelings and really help them uncover these beliefs that we don't even really know are running the
Oh,
show.
isn't it so true? It's
Yeah.
like they're in the driver's seat. We think we are, but we're in the back seat, and our subconscious brain's in charge,
It
like
is.
always.
It
It's
is.
yeah, just all
It's that
those.
much faster, right? It's faster than
Yeah,
our conscious
yeah,
brain, just a little
absolutely,
bit faster.
just a little bit.
So it's hard to catch, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but when they have a beautiful guide like you, then you
Thank you.
teach them how to do that, right? And to
Mm.
calm the nervous system, because you think differently when your nervous system is calm.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. When you're in that state of rest and digest, where you can really just, like you said, be present. I'm here now in this moment, and
Mm,
everything is good in this
yeah.
moment. And this is all that I really have today. And this is what we have is today, this moment. And there's so much we can do with that when we are full and feeling,
Yes.
not so disconnected and disjointed and scattered,
Yeah.
which is
Right.
how we feel when we're anxious and stressed and
Yes. And we're living
out
in
out
that.
of whack.
Yeah. And we're living out of
Mm,
our body and in
mm,
survival mode, which puts
yeah,
us here in our back brain,
yeah,
which is not our smart brain.
it's
And
that.
it is not, we cannot think clearly. We want to bring ourselves back here, which is that
Mm,
mindfulness, that present moment awareness. I love that.
yeah.
That's beautiful. Talk to us a little bit about your book.
Ah, so my first book is called Embody Your Essence. And
Yes.
in that book, I talk about all the things, right? Like, what does it mean to really embody your essence? It's to come home to who you really are at your core, with before all those stories, before all those limiting beliefs, before all those life experiences that I always say they don't define you, they inform you, they shape how you show up in the world, and they give you the information that you need to learn, to grow, to almost unravel all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I wrote this book, and again, initially I believe it was for my own healing. It started as a journal, and me just sort of, you know facing some of these things that had happened to me, and how they again informed me, shaped me, the decisions I made, the relationships I got into. These stories in my head all started when I was abandoned at birth, and put into the system and eventually adopted. But in that moment, when I was being, sent out of the hospital room because my birth mother was having a nervous breakdown, right? I was alone in those first few moments of my life, and my subconscious brain decided that I was not worthy of love. I wasn't worthy of being kept. And so that how that little infant newborn brain can grab onto something like that, right? But how that unfolded, even though I was adopted by a beautiful family and it was very loving, and I had, all the things, best, good education, good, good Midwestern, um, upbringing. I carried that story with me well into my mid to late 50s. And how did that unfold for me? Well, because my brain decided that I wasn't good enough, I had to prove myself, right? So I
Yes.
spent the better part of my life trying to prove myself by, rescuing other people, being the peacemaker, fixing all the problems, rising the corporate ladder to the top because that was successful, right?
Yeah.
All the time, and driving with my masculine energy of doing and getting stuff
Yes.
done, and solving everything, instead of loving myself, giving myself compassion, giving myself, you know grace and space to feel things. And then I started to realize how this had impacted me,
Mhm.
and my relationships and my family, and this sort of, remember that unfinished business we talked about, this,
Oh,
when you
yes.
don't deal with trauma, you just pass it down generation to generation to generation. And starting to realize that in my own parenting, in my marriage. So it was like, all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, this, I had to talk to people about this. So I write this book. It was scary as, can I say a bad word on here? No,
Yes,
I won't.
please.
But
You
it
can.
was like super frightening to
Oh,
put this stuff
yeah.
out there.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
why? What happens? We're like, oh, how will people think about, what will they think
Yeah.
about me? Will they
They.
judge me?
Uh-huh.
Will
Uh-huh.
will will I not belong?
Yep.
Right? But
Totally.
I did, here's it, but I did it anyway. Because I had learned how, when I released, the liberation I felt, talking to my own family, my own circle, my circle of friends, my community at my center. And when I realized the empathy, the compassion, the understanding, the connection, I was like, we need more people to feel and get that sense of permission. And so then I gathered 22 other women in my circle, and I said, guys, you got to do this. And I worked with them for probably 6 months, along with a wonderful friend who helped us edit it. And we helped them curate their stories of pain and triumph and transformation. And we put together this anthology called the She Breathes Soul Stories. Now, not only was it life changing for these women to write their stories and get them published in that book,
Yeah.
but when they stood up, there's something about live storytelling. We had this event at the studio, even the news was there, and these women stood
Wow.
up in front of 100 strangers, and they shared pieces of themselves. I have goosebumps telling you this because I
Oh,
can feel it again.
yes. Yes.
Pieces of themselves that they had kept so hidden for so long. Stories of, you know, sexual abuse as a child, narcissism in marriages. You know, I could go on and on and on about all the things. And suicide attempt in high school due to bullying. They
Wow.
stood up there and they told these stories, and it was like, I I can't even tell you the energy in the room that night. And not only for them, but for all the people who were hearing these stories for the first time. And that evening, one of the women said to me, Jen, I'm gonna get emotional.
It's
I
okay.
realized tonight, I used to think my story owned me, but now I know that I own my story. And it was like, I couldn't stop. Like, I'm like, we need more people to feel this way, to let
Yes.
this stuff out. And so then that's what led me to this whole Soul Stories movement, and helping people feel safe enough to come out and
Right?
share their truths,
Ah,
and to realize not only are they healing themselves, but they're giving other people permission to do the same. And that is what this is all about. Yeah.
oh, that is so beautiful.
And it's
Yes.
what you do. It's what we're doing. It's what
It's,
we're doing on these podcasts. It's what we're
yeah.
doing in these, when we talk and we encourage people. And like, it's just, it's, I don't know. The word is just, it's liberating.
It's
It's
powerful.
empowering. Yeah.
It's taking your
It's
power back,
exactly
right?
reclaiming it,
It's
reclaiming it.
reclaim, like she
And
said, owning.
and rewriting your story.
Yes.
Because now you get to make, and from here, you get to
Right.
rewrite everything. Yeah.
You get to rewrite it, and you realize, because you couldn't see it before, because we're so busy hiding that story and keeping it
Yeah.
quiet and not, you realize your beauty in that story. You realize that your
Absolutely.
superpower, I'm getting a chill everywhere.
I know. I have them
Your
too.
superpower lies in that worst story.
Yeah.
And we're gonna
Absolutely.
end for a quick second. I want you guys to think about that. Your superpower lies, listen to what Jen was saying, in your worst story. I want you to think about that. And when we come back, we're going to wrap it up. This is so good. I don't want it to end. And I know you don't either. So come right back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hey, friends, Carrie here. Do you ever feel like you're on edge all the time? No matter how hard you try to relax, the stress just won't let go. Today's special guest, Jenn Gulbrand, helps people break free from old patterns and calm their nervous systems, combining science backed methods with soulful healing to guide you into peace, presence, and personal power. Are you ready? Are you ready, my friends, to feel lighter, clearer, and more alive? Book your free discovery call with Jenn today at www.jennGulbrand.com. That's Jenn, JENNGULBRAND.com. You can thank me later. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Look for the Good. We are having, oh my gosh, you gave me all the feels just then. I had the goosebumps. You brought me to like tears in my eyes. Like, that was so beautiful what you were doing for women to help liberate, for all people, really, all humans, because all humans need this, right? And
Mm.
let's talk about, because you and I both know this so well, what is the magic? What happens? Like that gal, your one client that said she now owns her story. What
Yeah.
happens next? Let's talk about the beautiful things that happens when we own that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is we release those expectations of other people in the outside world, right? Shakespeare said, like, expectations are the root of all evil, or something like that. It's so true,
It's so
because
true.
we walk around worried about what everyone else is thinking, what they're going to say, how they're going to respond, including how all these women felt before they put their stories out there, and myself included. Like, will they judge me? Will they be upset with me for sharing this? So I think the biggest thing that happens is you give yourself permission to release those expectations and the perceptions of others. Not that they're not going to have them, not that you're not going to hear their opinions, but you release attachment to that. You
Mm,
let go of the worry and concern about how everyone else is going to respond, and you shift your focus. Again, women are not taught this. We're always taught to focus on everyone else's needs,
yeah.
but you shift your focus back to yourself. What do
Mm,
I need to feel whole and balanced and in alignment? Because now I understand that those were not my stories. They were somebody else's perceptions of me. Now I'm rewriting my story. I get to choose how I'm going to look and feel and behave and show up from this day forward. I get to find um, things that make me feel alive, that make me feel whole, that put me back in that state of alignment and flow. What does that look like? And I get to explore that. I get to experiment with that because I matter, and I'm going to lead with self-love and self-compassion, because I know when I do that, I'm going to be better in all of my relationships with everyone around me. We actually teach people how to love us by how we love ourselves. Think
mm,
about that for a minute.
that is
We
so true.
we teach other people how to love us by how we love ourselves.
Ooh.
And that, I mean, we could just stop right there. but
Say
but
no
but
more.
but right? I mean, who
Yes,
we don't think about that. We
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 don't.
think about how we think we're supposed to be focused on how we're loving other people.
Yeah,
But if we don't
always.
start with ourselves, none of it's like a big um smokescreen.
It
Like, we're
is.
not, I mean, think about parenting, right? We teach our daughters how to love themselves by how we love ourselves first. And they
Wow.
they watch that. Our
Yeah, they
children
do.
see that. And so I think that's a big takeaway for me in my own healing, in the work that I do, is let go of those attachments to how everyone else will respond to you.
Yeah.
Shift your mindset to what you can control, which is only your own thoughts your behaviors, your actions, how
Yeah.
you show up in the world.
Yeah. I love that. It's for
Mm,
me, it comes down to this little phrase. And I wrote a song about it, and it's in my book. Take it back. It's
mm.
all about taking our power back. Why?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
we gave it all away. We were trained to
exactly.
give it all away. We
Of
didn't
course.
even know. We don't even realize how powerful we are because we've
Mm,
given it all away. We've given everybody the power to make decisions for us, give us their opinions. How do we look? How do I smell? Whatever those things are. I
yeah,
mean, because we're externally faced and we're all influenced, and social
exactly.
media does not help with this at
It
all.
does not help it. It
And
does
so
not.
the moment that you can say, I'm going
Yeah.
to take, which is what you're doing, you're giving women that space and the permission to take their power back. Hey, wait,
Mm, yeah,
have way more control than I thought I did over all these things in my life. And I can rewrite those limiting stories. Wow.
absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm going to own that story. I'm going to own what happened to me. I'm going to feel what I feel. And I'm going to just find a way with your guidance to let that stuff go. Right.
absolutely. And to focus inward. It's an inside job. It's an
Yeah.
inside job.
Yeah.
It's the only thing we have control over is how we move forward.
Totally. I always say that like
Mm,
happiness is such an elusive thing.
mm,
It is. It's an inside job though, right? And it's really not happiness that makes our lives complete. It's joy and purpose,
yeah,
right? And that's another piece of our power that you're giving women back is that joy and purpose,
yeah,
having purpose.
yeah,
Maybe your purpose is to get in there and rewrite that story. Just like you, your purpose is
yeah.
to give people permission to do that because you showed them how you did that. There is
Right.
nothing more noble than that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm grateful to have the opportunity to take my life and my learnings and help other people. I mean, it's really just my it's my reason for doing everything that I do is I've been on that journey myself, and I want to help other people to feel happier and healthier and more aligned with their
Yeah.
lives, to release the patterns of suffering, release
Ooh,
the
yeah.
patterns of suffering, and reclaim their joy and their embody who they really are without all the external noise. When you
Yes.
can reconnect with that, like embody who you are from, like, at your core, it just everything just starts to flow. It's not so hard. You let go of the resistance, and you get into that flow of joy and peace and purpose.
I love that because when you're
Mm,
so aligned and you're doing what you're meant to do, a lot of that stress just falls away.
yeah,
You can go sit on the couch and not feel guilty.
right,
Right? You know what I mean?
right,
Like it ripples in
absolutely.
everything you do. You can go bake that banana bread that you want to do instead of being in your office or cleaning,
Yeah,
whatever it is you think you need to
yeah,
do. When you
so true.
find that, it is this beautiful wave of
Mm,
peace that you get to take with you to every single thing that you do. And just like
mm.
you said, every single relationship improves in your life
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
because you've improved the very relationship that only one that really
Yeah.
matters anyways is between you
With
and
yourself.
you,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
It's an
It's so
inside.
true. We have to start teaching our children this,
Right.
you know,
Yes,
instead of
yes.
your worth comes from, what you do for everyone else.
Right,
That's
or
just
what
not.
everybody or the best vacation or looking more beautiful or your skirt's
Yeah.
cuter on Instagram, right? All
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm constantly trying recently to be more aware of that. Like, what am I
Mm,
putting out? Okay,
yeah.
I teach all this, right? And as you do, but the kids sometimes it's a bit too much. It's overwhelming. Not really sure, what mom's
Yeah.
talking about. Woo woo stuff, but it's not
Oh,
woo
yeah.
woo. It's really
No.
not. It's basic stuff that we were never taught in school that we should have been taught in school, but we weren't. And it's really teaching them that power at a young age, right? And I feel like it's focusing on you don't have to at a certain point, like, oh, okay, you can ask me my opinion. What do you think? What does your body tell you? Where do you feel
Yes.
it in your body, right? Because everybody feels that intuition in a different spot. Where do you
Yes.
feel it? Oh, I feel it right in my gut. Okay, when that gut talks to you, you have to listen. Don't
Yeah.
ignore that gut because every time we know because we've been through it, every time we do,
Yeah.
it doesn't go well.
That's right. That's your solar plexus. That's your sense of identity and self and
Yeah.
worth, your gut.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
gut, exactly. So
Yeah.
giving the kids back that power, teaching them
Yes.
that they have the answers. I think that's
Mm.
the only way through this, world that we live in now where everybody wants to grab our attention.
Well, absolutely. And sadly, I mean, I spend a lot of my practices with young, I call them emerging adults, because everything that we've gone through in the last few years has really done a number on their mental health.
Yeah.
And I really try to supply them with resources and tools that they can use to remind themselves that they don't have to focus. They can, it's all, again, it's an inside job. These are the things I can do in this moment to get present and to feel, you know, it back in alignment versus all the noise out there, especially the social media. It's just so damaging.
It is.
And it really is. And I think and sadly, what's happening with a large part of our that population is they're self-medicating because they don't know how to feel this stuff. It's too overwhelming. We haven't taught them. They
Hmm.
don't have the tools. They don't know how to breathe. They don't know how to move their body or to find stillness. So what do? They reach for, drugs and alcohol to numb it because it's like too noisy. So
Mm.
if we can teach them to reach for mindfulness and breath work
Yeah.
and nature and movement and stillness,
Mm.
those are much healthier ways to
Yeah.
navigate these choppy waters and
Yeah.
to learn regulate their nervous system,
I love that.
to regulate, to realign, to reclaim,
Mm.
their self.
Yeah. I love what you
Yeah,
said about sovereignty. Sovereignty.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
right, reclaiming that. And the fact that it seems as if, and especially that generation, they have no power, right? Things were taken away from them. They had COVID,
yeah,
they had all the things.
yeah,
That is, teaching them where that power is by bringing it right back in and you
yeah,
making the choices, not what somebody
mm,
said on social media, you deciding what's important for you
yeah.
and
It's
finding
so
your
true.
purpose, right? I love that.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Well, this
so important.
so important. This has been the most incredible conversation. I think we could talk for another 2 hours.
We could. We'll
And
do another
everybody,
episode.
we
You can come on
absolutely,
my podcast and we'll talk some more.
yay. Tell us about your podcast. Where can they find your podcast? Can they find your books? All that goodness.
Oh yeah. Well, so my books are Embody Your Essence and the She Breeze Soul Stories. They're both on Amazon. My podcast is She Breeze Soul Stories. I'm always looking for guests. So if you are listening and you have a story that you're just bursting to share, please reach out to me. I'd love to have you. I'm on all the places, Spotify, iTunes, all the podcast places. And really, if I can just support you or someone in any way, I would be honored to hold that space for you.
I love that, Jen. I love what you are doing. I'm giving you
Thank
a
you.
cosmic hug right now because
I'm
that
giving you
was
one back.
it's just so beautiful. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming on Look for the Good. You are the
Thank
embodiment
you.
of looking for the good
Mm,
and
Thank
reminding
you.
people of who they really are. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank
And
you for having this container. Thank you.
you are so welcome. And
Mhm.
remember, everybody, it is never too late to live your best story. Be well.
Thanks for tuning in to Look for the Good with your host, Carrie Rowan, best-selling author and mindset coach. Join us every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. right here at Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. If you weren't able to catch an episode, no worries. Just visit our website to find all the archived episodes of Look for the Good on demand, so you don't miss a thing. And remember, it's never too late to live your best story. For additional resources or to find out about how you can work with Carrie directly, visit carrierowan.com for more details.